fans, welcome to the Zapata Brand Podcast Boxing Edition. And although it's cold here on the East Coast, it's going to be heating up this Saturday night, February 1st on pay-per-view when David Benavidez takes on David Morrell in a highly anticipated fight for the 175-pound title, whichever one it is, because there's a WBA super regular champion and then an interim champion. But they're both going to do battle. But joining us today is International Boxing Hall of Famer and my buddy, Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how are you?
Good. How are you? How's the bagels going?
The bagels are good. They will be at the Teddy Theodore Atlas Foundation next year. They will be there. I couldn't get out there this year, but me and my wife will make it out there. My brother was there, and I know you were missing those bagels. We'll get them out there for you.
There'll be 1,000 people waiting for the bagels and cream cheese too, if you have it.
We'll have them both there. I can guarantee you that. I know, like I said, this Saturday, February 1st, David Benavidez fighting someone who no one really, well, they were touting David Morrell as being one of them, his opponents, but they really wanted Canelo. However, David Morrell seems to present a little bit of a problem here, I think. What do you see in David Morrell?
Dangerous fight. Very dangerous fight. Look, it's a tough fight. It's a good fight for the fans. It's a tough fight for both guys, you know. Obviously, there's always an element of danger in my business that I've been in for 50 years now. But anytime you can make an argument for both guys, you usually have a good chance of having a good fight, and you could do that here. But it's a dangerous fight. I think there's more danger on the side for Benavidez than Morrell. I like Benavidez. I love him and his father. I love his approach, his attitude, his style, everything about him. I like Morrell too, coming from the Cuban national team, tremendous amateur. You know, one of those rare guys that can win we've seen it in our history, but there's not a million of them that can win a world title with just a handful of fights. You know, we've seen Rigon Dial, we've seen Lomachenko, you know, we've seen, I think Robert Cruz is very close to being able to do it. We've seen a few guys do it, and he's one of them. And again, you're pretty special if you can win a world title in a handful of fights. You know, I mean, Leon Spinks did it. You know, people don't give him enough respect. They forget about his name because, you know, where his career went, you know, after the rematch with Ali. But this man was a gold medalist in the Olympics. This man was a guy who fought for our country. This man was a world champion after, again, a handful of fights. So Morrell is a special talent. And Benavidez, I think he mixes talent with will. They both do, but I think it's a little bit more display on the side of Benavidez. If I break this down, put my analyst hat on, I'm going to say that if I break it into categories, which, you know, always makes it a little easier, I think the power, believe it or not, even though both guys can bang, I think the power side advantage probably goes to Morrell for one shot, for one punch. And I think the hand speed and quantity of punches goes over to Benavidez. You know, at the end of the day, if I had to pick this fight, I would say, look, if you think it's going to go the distance, I'm going with Benavidez. I don't think Morrell's outworking him. His work rate is incredible. It's incredible, and he is a monster. He is a Mexican monster. You know, as his name says, he gets on you. He looks to break you down physically, and he looks to break you down mentally. He looks to instill his physicality and impose his will. And he does it with pressure. He does it with body work. He does it with inside fighting. And he's a busy guy. And he puts punches together really well. Morrell, on the other hand, is, you know, he's a guy that looks to pick his spots a little bit more, you know, technically maybe pays more attention to doing things in a more conventional way, looks to set traps. Like I said, he'll look to set up counter punches. He'll go to the body too. He'll do things a little bit more under control, a little bit more patiently, maybe than Benavidez, and there is where really the true question mark and really what Benavidez is really going to pay attention to, and him and his father are really going to really have to have come up with a good game plan with, and that's the combination of their aggressive offense with responsible defense, where they don't get caught on the way in, where they don't get caught with a fat punch or in between a fat punch, where they don't get caught in a reckless, being, as I said, over anxious, overly committed to only offense. There has to be a mix. There has to be a mix, especially on the side, I think, of Benavides to be responsible both offensively and defensively. I just laid out, I think, really what you need to lay out if you're looking at this fight, if you're looking to, play around, making a friendly bet with your friends or whatever it is that you want to do, or just watch the fight and have some, something to look for. To me, those are the things you're looking for.
Well, let me ask you, Teddy. You said about Morrell not having as much experience at 11-0, 9
He's
knockouts.
got a lot of amateur fights. It makes up for it. Forget about that. It makes up for it. He don't have the pro experience yet. But that's what I was trying to explain to you. He's got the amateur background. Who knows how many amateur fights he got? 200, 150? I don't know
He had
what the
100.
real.
He was 130-5.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be a little more, but that's enough. That's enough. That's like you making bagels. You've been making bagels for how many years? You know how to
27
make.
years.
Yeah, you know how to make bagels. So he knows how to fight. He knows how to fight. He knows everything that comes with the game. Uh,
Okay, but
he,
my only point being this is going to be a massive event. It's going to be his first big event. David Benavidez has been to that show a couple times. Does that play a part into Morrell's psyche here? Because you tend to look at the mental aspect of the game. You've dealt with the Tysons of the world, the Tim
Yeah, I
Bradleys
look
of the
at
world.
both. I look at the technical, the physical, and the mental. Yeah, because no matter what you have, it's like having a Ferrari car. You got, say, 500 horsepower. I don't know what the horsepower is. I don't have a Ferrari. But whatever it is, it means diddly squat unless you have a driver that can drive it and control it and get it through those turns at a high speed. Otherwise, it means none. Same thing with a talented guy. You could have all the talent in the world, and you could have all the technique attached to that talent. But unless you have the mental, unless you have the driver of the car, the mental stewardship to be able to stay calm in an uncalm environment and to deal with those turns as they come at 200 miles an hour, unless you have that kind of mindset and togetherness, you got nothing. I don't care, what your genetics are. I don't care how hard you hit the bag. I don't care about how many guys you knock out in the gym, unless you have that. And that's the package.
And two more quick things, Teddy, before I wrap up. And again, I appreciate your time. Is on a last minute thing, and you had a lot going on. You were able to sneak me in here. Can Benavidez make this fight something that catapults him into the mainstream, and thus putting him in line to be the superstar that boxing desperately needs at this point?
I think you made a good point, first of all. I'll back up a little bit. Benavidez has been on this stage before. Yes, he has. And that plays you would think, to benefit him. We'll find out. We'll see. But don't forget the value of a guy coming from a communist country, from the hardships of that country. In some ways, you could say that you could say that he's already been on a tough stage, if
Mhm.
you will. And I look at things those way. I look at life as a fight. So I quantify those things as part of the mix when I break down handicap of fight. So, but yeah, no doubt, Benavidez has been on this stage. He's used to those hot lights. As far as whether or not this could catapult him into a big star, It sure as hell won't hurt him. It won't hurt him. It won't do what Canelo will do. Let's be honest. There's a
You're
lot of
right.
people don't know who Morrell is. And Morrell's a tremendous fighter, but they don't
Right.
know who he is. But it will still, it will still head him in the right direction, the direction him and his father are going to being a superstar, which is what they're trying to do.
And in my honest opinion, I think this could possibly be a trap fight for Benavidez, only because what he's bringing to the table. He is looked at as the favorite here. That could be a trap fight, similar to like you saw the Lions this weekend losing to the Commanders. You know what I mean? You think you're so good. This one kind of snuck up on you. I don't know if that would
Benavidez,
happen.
listen, towards that, Benavidez has more to lose. I see. I'm not afraid to put statements out there, and people, oh, Billy, you're wrong. You're good. I'm wrong. So what? At least I'm not, sticking in the middle of the fence and going nowhere. I think Benavidez has more to lose, and the reason for it is if he loses to a guy with what 11 fights, 10 fights, whatever the
11,
number is.
11-0.
Yeah, he loses to a guy 11-0 that a lot of people didn't really, really know, even though we know that he's we know the quality of him, but if Morrell loses, they say, hey, you only had 11 fights. You're going to get better. It's a learning experience. It's one of the steps you got to take towards greatness. So he's got a little backup there, Morrell, if he loses, unless he gets blown out, obviously. But if he loses within some kind of competitive area, uh, he's got less risk in that kind of way to the career or the future career than Benavidez. Benavidez got it all on the line, baby. I mean, he's that he's that poker player that's just all in. He's pushing it all in, all in.
He is definitely all in because February 22nd is the big unification bout or undisputed championship bout between Bivol and Benavidez. The winner is supposedly going to get the winner of this fight. But Teddy, my last thing here. What do you got coming down the pipe here for Teddy Atlas and your son, Teddy Jr.?
Yeah, thank you. Listen, I got the podcast to fight with Teddy Atlas. It's on all the platforms, YouTube and all those platforms out there where you get your podcast. And Teddy's taking it over. My son is young. He was 15 years in the NFL as director of scouting. He was with the Browns, he was with the Jets, and then 12 years with the Raiders at the end, director of scouting with them. And he's got a vision. He's young, he's energetic, he's passionate, he knows the sport since he's a baby in diapers, you know. So he wants to do things that this caveman here knows nothing about. He wants to live stream fights, do fight companions, do all kinds of things to grow our audience, to make our audience even more happy, to give them more content, to have more, different guests on and interact with the guests, maybe during fight companions and stuff like that. He wants me to do things that I've been reticent to do because I don't like to ask for nothing. I don't like to go out there and say, "Hey, buddy, come on my show," And but he will. He will. He will go out there and ask my friends and ask the great people in the business to come on board and do those things. And I'm excited about it. I think that it's going to bode well for the future of the show. The show already has 314,000 subscribers, but he's looking to get 1 million. He told me by the end of the year. So he's got enthusiasm, he's got knowledge, he's got a vision. He's a hell of a lot smarter than his father. So I'm excited about. I'm excited, and well, how blessed am I? How blessed am I that I could have my son doing the show with me? How blessed am I? That's the greatest thing that I could do a show with my son. I remember Mike Golick used to do it with his son, uh, and I used to go on his show a lot. And I used to think about it too when I was on his show and Mike and his son were there. I used to think, wow, how cool would that be if I could do it with my son? And here I am. I'm going to be able to do it with my son. I mean that's what's made in the last year. They brought me over to. I've been blessed. They wanted me to go to Saudi Arabia. They brought me there 6 times. Every time with my son, that he could share that experience with me. That was the blessing. that was the blessing to share that with them. And here's an extra blessing to do this show now with my boy.
There's nothing better than that. And Teddy, now you're gonna, like you said to your fighters, now you're gonna have to get comfortable in uncomfortable positions now.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to do new stuff that like I said, I wasn't inclined to do before, but you know what? I'll figure it out. I'll follow his lead, and I'll listen to him, and I will. When that red light goes on, I used to. All the guys used to laugh, and ESPN, 30 years me doing the commentating there, and 18 years with doing Friday night fights. Uh, they used to come in every once in a while. We get a new producer. He'd come in and say, "Teddy, you're really good at this with the TV. Did anyone ever work with you? Did anyone ever sit down and spend a couple weeks?" I said, "Are you kidding me? No." And he said, "Well, how did you, like, what was your, learning curve?" I said, "My learning curve. Okay. Um, when the red light went on, I talked. And keep it simple. That's it."
Yes. Well, Teddy, I wanted to reach out to you, and you were nice enough to come on for a couple minutes. But there is one thing I want to say that I know you don't want me to tell people, but you are by far, boxing is sometimes can be a really dirty business. It can be a very bad business. You are by far one of the most generous, likable, and someone I could call a friend that I've met in boxing. You are an unbelievable guy and a great family man. For that, we thank you, and all the support from our fans to yours, to your channel, to your YouTube channel, to your foundation. You do a tremendous job, and you've never asked for anything else. But you will get bagels when I get there next year. I promise you that.
And cream cheese.
And cream cheese. And it's only Philadelphia cream cheese. That's all we use. Top of the line. Top of the line stuff.
That is top of the line, and you're top of the line, you and your family. So thank you.
I try as best I can, if I can be a third of the person that you are and your son, I'd consider myself a lucky guy.
No, you have a beautiful family, and all I can tell you is your parents did a good job. Thank you.
My mom is a tremendous woman. She watches you on the podcast too, and she says, "Oh, is that Teddy Atlas? I can't believe you're going to talk to Teddy." She can't believe it either.
Tell her I said hello, please.
I will. Teddy, as always, thank you so much for coming on. Happy New Year. I forgot to tell you, and wishing you the best to you and your family.
Thank you. I appreciate you, your family, and tell your mom hello, like I said.
I will.
And thank you for those bagels. And like we say in New York, like they say in New York, my Jewish friends say, you have to have a schmear. You got to have it with a schmear.
We got you covered next year, Teddy. Teddy Atlas, thanks for joining us. So remember, guys, look at the Dr. Theodore Atlas Foundation and Teddy Atlas on YouTube. Take care, Teddy.
Take care.
Thanks for watching the Zapata Brand podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and listen where all podcasts are available.